Okay, so you have finished your tech pack, you have finished your graded spec and construction notes, and you are ready to start the conversation with your factory. One of the scariest things about starting my business was not knowing which factory to turn to because I didn't know their capabilities, I didn't know if they were ethical, and essentially it was just too ambiguous. Oftentimes you find that you get way deep into the process with the wrong factory. So let me tell you some of my fail safes that I use every single time in finding and vetting a good factory. First, you need to identify what your needs are. There are factories as far as the eye can see, but not every factory can do everything. Not every manufacturer is right for you. They may not have the right capabilities. They may not have the right suppliers in their supply chain. So let's look at how we can identify that and push past the first step. So first, when you are looking for the right factory, you want to make sure that they can handle your MOQ. If you are doing low batch, you need a factory that specializes in low batch so that they're not constantly pressuring you to increase your quantities, and so that they have the people in their supply chains that also are going to be able to meet that need. On the reverse side, if you need large scale manufacturing, you have to go to a manufacturer who has those things in his supply chain or her supply chain. So the second section that's really important when sourcing a good factory is your quality standards. So not just quality in terms of what types of materials do they have at their disposal, but also your standards. What level of quality you expect for them to produce for you based on what they have produced for other people. Your timeline. If your factory maybe is lacking certain things in their supply chain that they have to outsource, that's going to affect your timeline. It's important that you understand what your factory is capable of and how long it takes them to manufacture. It doesn't matter if you come to the table with the launch date ready if your factory cannot meet that date. And lastly, factory capabilities. As I mentioned, different factories have different things in their supply chains. So it's important that you have that conversation with the factory. This is exactly why I do that sketch analysis and materials checklist, so that I can have the conversation as early as possible. So the factory can come back and tell me, we don't have flat lock machines, or we don't have that very specific buttonhole machine that you're looking for. And I can either change my design or look for a new factory. Define your budget constraints. And basically what this means is you need to know how much money you're comfortable spending on this project and get all of that information up front. So when you have a tech pack and you have a graded spec, you're able to get a price from your factory before they start sampling. This way you can either, again, tweak your design or increase your budget. Then lastly, the factory criteria selection. We're looking at how they are set up, where in the world they are located, their capabilities, and their ethics. So that's really just a snapshot of everything that you need. But I am going to tell you a little bit more about how to hone in on these things. Let's take a look at some of the red flags that really get my antenna up when I am sourcing a new factory that tell me this is not the right partner for me. Number one, factory does not answer your emails timely. This is a huge red flag because they are either understaffed or their customer service is lacking. When you have questions about your sample or when you have questions about your order, you need to know that your factory is your partner in making sure that it's done correctly. So make sure that you're getting these answers timely, or close out the request and move on and try to find a new factory. Number two, your factory tries to rush you. This is always a huge red flag, because if the factory is trying to get that money out of you before they sample for you, if the factory is trying to rush you into production before you get a sample, it's because they know they're lacking in something and they're hoping that they can get your money before it's too late to turn away. So it's usually a red flag if they're trying to rush you. Number 3, your factory won't do video calls. It's really important that at some point, if you can't send a QC in, or someone that can actually be boots on the ground in that factory, that you can physically walk around that factory with the factory owner in a video call. If they turn down your request, it may not always be a red flag because potentially it might be a language barrier, but a video call is virtually free. And if the factory denies you that, that's probably a red flag. Number 4, your factory sends images that do not match your needs. If your factory is trying to push you into making substitutions that you did not authorize, that you do not like, that again might mean that there's something lacking in their supply chain or lacking in their customer service. So I would turn away from that factory if they're not showing you the things that you're specifically asking for. Number 5, your factory will not let you do a QC factory audit. Anytime I work with a new factory, I now work with a great company, and they will send a person into that factory and audit everything down from the number of machines they have to the number of working hours that their employees are working. I want to know exactly who is making my product so that my clients can sell their product with confidence and with peace of mind. Then lastly, the factory asks for money without proof that they can deliver. This really kind of goes back to the factory tries to rush you. Those two things go hand in hand. Typically, when a factory is trying to rush you along, there's nothing to really hold them accountable for doing a good job after they already have your money. They can make pretty much anything, and it's up to you to decide whether you want to fight it or walk away. So look out for those red flags when you're sourcing a factory. All right, let's talk about some of the things I do when I am researching a factory. So I conduct pretty thorough research. This is honestly years and years of heartache and sleepless nights in using the wrong manufacturers that have forced me to put certain things into motion to make sure that never happens again. So let's look at some of the things I do. To dive deeper into tech packs, graded specs, and factory sourcing, head to Teachable now for the full webinar. If you're a brand owner or an aspiring brand owner and you'd like to talk to someone about how to get partnered up with Black Unicorn, head over to blackunicornmerch.com and fill out the questionnaire, and someone will be in touch with you to talk to you about how we can help you along your design journey. And of course, if you like this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next Friday for segment 4 of the Elevate Your Fashion Career webinar.